Welcome to Florence.
No, I'm not in Florence in Italy, unfortunately. I'm in Felixstowe. But this is my new mobile studio, a motorhome called Florence.
Florence has got a diesel heater and a little toilet and a proper little kitchen area. Everything we need. My plan was to actually get out and do some sketching here while I was here, but it's actually really cold, so I've chickened out and I'm going to sit in Florence. There are some amazing houses here overlooking the sea. I've sketched some of them before because there are quite a few benches along the cliff top, and it's just a nice place to sit in summer. Today is not summer. It was a cold November day, so being inside a warm motorhome was far preferable to a cold bench in the damp air and bitter North Sea breeze. Is that still urban sketching, or is it cheating? I'm saying this tongue-in-cheek, of course. I don't think it's important whether I'm in here or freezing outside. The thing is, I'm doing something I love, in the warm, drinking a nice coffee. What's not to love about that? I'm using a Sailor Fude de Manon fountain pen with a 40-degree nib, using water-resistant platinum carbon ink on a sea white watercolour travel journal. The paints I've brought with me today are the Quor Half Pan Intensity set. Having this mode of transport will be ideal in summer, and I'll be able to explore so many new places and have with me a choice of materials to use. In the meantime, as it's winter, Florence's second voyage was again to Felixstowe. It's only a few miles from where I live, and I do love being near water, even though I'm not actually very good at painting it. So I've got a studio with a view. If I decide that it's going to get a little bit too breezy, then I shall go inside Florence. So I did go outside and sit on a bench for a couple of minutes, but it's a little bit too breezy. Oh, I'm just a wimp. My view from today's parking spot was a row of houses, again overlooking the sea. I'm just looking for my highest point, which is the house next door there. And this is a prime example of where I hold my pen up to see which way it's sloping. It's quite hard to work out because I'm sort of sitting at an angle here. One of the things that I think about when I'm going to draw an urban scene like this is, where do I start? Am I going to start with the big shapes? Am I going to start with my focal point? With something like this, it's tricky to say what is the focal point because it's just an urban scene of some houses, really. So I'll probably just pick which one I want to start with, and because I'm right-handed, I'll pick one on this side and just work my way across the page. Rather than doing the big shapes, I'll probably just build up line by line. I think drawing everyday urban scenes like rows of houses is actually my favourite type of thing to draw. I just like the higgledy-piggledy nature of all the different shapes and colours, more than just drawing, say, one spectacular stately home or a mansion. It might not be pretty or something I'd put on the wall in a frame, but these sketches will always remind me of where I was and everything about my environment at the time. The weather, the temperature, who I was with, if I was on my own. This will always remind me of the excitement of getting my first ever motorhome, something I've wanted for quite a long time, but I've never taken the plunge and bought. This sketch was done with the same pen and sketchbook as the last time, so Sailor Fude de Manon 40 degree and the Sea White travel journal. Unfortunately, because the parking space I was in was restricted to 30 minutes, I didn't have time to complete the sketch on location, so I did finish it at home. I did find the Fude nib pen really useful for doing these bare winter trees, just by using the thick part to draw the trunks in, and then turning the nib over to get some random branches. And then these ones over here, a bit more straight up. And again, just turning it over, quite simply make it look quite convincing. It's one of the beauties of the Fudo nib pen that you get different thicknesses depending on how you hold it, so it can be a little bit random and therefore looks a little bit more natural. One of the things I meant to do when I was there was to try out a tip that someone suggested on one of my previous videos, and that tip was to use a folding ruler to measure angles with. So basically hold the ruler up against the roof or whatever angle you're trying to draw, and then bring it down to your page. I think it's a really good idea. I actually included it in my gift guide that I published last week. So I bought one myself and wanted to try it out, but I forgot. So I thought it might be an interesting experiment to compare the photograph with what I've drawn and see how right or wrong I've actually got it. So here's a photo, and let's start with this house here. So that looks about right. Let's compare that with what I drew. Actually not far off. Quite pleased with that one. I can see already this one's not right. I think having that bit shorter threw me a little bit, and it's like an optical illusion, and I can see that this is not big enough. So this angle here, so roughly there, yeah, that one should have come out here somewhere. Okay, let's move on to this one. More of a, what did I do? I think mine's too small again. Oh, not too bad. And then that's not bad either. So brilliant tip. And this ruler was like less than £3. I mean, obviously it's probably meant for children, but who cares? It fits in my pencil case. And I might try using it next time if I remember. Now, although I didn't have time to finish the sketch on location, I did go back the next day to do the painting from my car, and I think you can see by the weather why I chose to stay in my car. So there we are, my first 2 sketches from my new mobile studio. Thanks for watching and happy sketching.